And hello. This is Tamara Caulder Richardson, and I've got a reverb. Let me turn this down. And welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. And I am here again with the founder and director of Portal to Ascension, Neil Gaur. Welcome back. We're here to talk about more about this my gosh, this UFO disclosure. This is going to be a continuing conversation because it's fascinating. It's coming out big time. So I want the first episode, if you haven't seen it, we do talk about are ETs among us. We talk about that whole topic and can you handle the truth? This is the next part to this. We're really going to get into it. And are we being manipulated by the masses, or why are we not being told the truth? So take it, Neil.
All right, let's do it. So we're gonna start from where we left off last time. Okay. So let me get that here. Okay, and reason why we're starting from this slide here is human 3D density body limitations. Okay, because the understanding is, are we being lied to? Are we being manipulated? There is the bigger source picture of the fact that we're meant to be lied to, we're meant to forget, we're meant to experience darkness, and part of darkness and going through a world where we have amnesia, we don't remember our past lives, we don't remember our ET lives. Part of the way to find the light within that world is to experience the polar opposite of what we want to achieve, so we can have the contrast. And when we have that contrast, it just happens to be a lot of darkness, which therefore also reflects as a lot of lies and manipulation. So it's the bigger understanding of it all. But then you get into the 3D nitty gritty. There are certain things, certain regulations that we've all adopted as we came to Earth. There's your own there's your own belief systems, your own belief systems that you have the ability to translate yourself because you're the only one that has imposed this on yourself. Then there's collective belief systems, which is the soul collective of humanity and the things that we all agreed upon when we came here. So what we're going to talk about now is some of those collective belief systems, human 3D limitations. And these are, I'm telling you this because we're breaking free from this, which will also help us break free from the lies and manipulation. And then after that, we're going to get into the linear, quote unquote, linear timeline of the UFO manipulation up until present to show you what happened and how it was hidden. So humans can hear between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, right? So that's technically a limitation because we know below 20 hertz exists, above 20 kilohertz exists. What is beyond that? What can't we hear? We can only perceive and see visible light spectrum, but we know other light spectrums exist. Some light we cannot see. However, we can measure and utilize. As I shared in the past episode, there's many frequencies and many sound waves like ultrasounds that we're utilizing that exist, but we cannot see, but we can measure. And then there's light we cannot see or manipulate or can't measure, but we can see that it exists. And then could there be light or frequency we cannot see, manipulate, and we don't know that exists, right? Because all of what I just shared with you, the light and the frequencies we can now perceive or manipulate, 100, 200 years ago, we had no idea that you were nowhere around, right? Some people on Earth did. So on one end of the spectrum, there's infrared light, which while too red for humans to see, it's all around us and even emitted from our bodies, right? So these are lights that we know exist, that we now have technology to perceive. We have 400 types of scent receptors that can detect at least 1 trillion different odors. The previous estimate was 10,000 scents. So now we're expanding that awareness. We have 1 trillion different odors that we can perceive and we can have scent for, but there's definitely more, right? Mainstream research, meditation studies, and study of plant medicine experiences show that we have tools on this planet that can break these boundaries when we stimulate and activate other parts of our DNA, our brain, our cells, or whatever. So we're realizing that we have the tools to break free from these limitations. And then the little quote that I put there is, when we shift our frequency, we can see. And that's what's going on with the planet. And just to show the manipulation, we're going to start with some beautiful images.
Oh, what is that of? That's amazing. I want to go there.
I forget what the name of this nebula is, but it's one of the most famous ones that they show all the time, right?
And then I like nebulas. Thanks for bringing those.
We have the Crab Nebula, here. another famous nebula. Okay.
Beautiful.
And now, what if I told you this is not what it looks like, and this is all graphically enhanced Photoshop from the governments and then from NASA, right? So, not to say that this isn't what is there, but what is there are gases that aren't able to be perceived by the human eye, and we've put color spectrums on those gases, and therefore, when we take pictures of it, we assign the colors we put on those gases, and we create this beautiful image right here, right? So it's not just are we being manipulated, it's that even our perception of our own reality has been fed to us by others that we even dream about. Some people astral travel and they could swear that they're right here, but that image that they saw isn't exactly how you would see it if you were actually there. So
Mhm.
our pictures of space include colors on a light spectrum that we cannot see. Also, some images include colors that correlate to sound frequencies rather than light. Our image of the universe is completely different than the reality of what would happen if we were just out there right now. We've now reached the stage in technologically to prove these dimensions, realities, and realms and frequencies exist. So I wanted to show you that, guys. And now we're going to move over to the presentation. And maybe if you want to jump in, tell me around, say anything while I do that.
Oh gosh, this is beautiful. No, I'm tracking with everything. I think it's beautiful. Makes sense. Keep going.
Let's do it. All right. So now we're getting into, you can see this, right?
Sorry. Let me do it again. I gotta add you back. There we go.
So
No,
we're going to talk about now. Can you see it?
yeah. Do you like it full screen or you like it over here?
Well, I can't see because I only can see my screen. Whatever is
Okay.
the prettiest, you know.
Okay. There you go. That's pretty. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So from UFOs to UAPs, so now we just did that little segue into wow, what is reality? We can't what we see it as isn't really what it is, and we've been fed different information. Now, are we being manipulated when it comes to the whole understanding of UFOs and extraterrestrials? So this presentation here is actually a longer one. We're only going to do a segment of it. And it's about the timeline of that. And the reason why I want to show this, I want to show how it became went from fringe to mainstream, how it went from not being accepted to being accepted. But first, the intention of what you're about to experience is a part of a series of disclosure information and awareness and spiritual truths that are designed to take us on a journey from about the 1850s to present day, exploring the evolution and the awareness of UFOs in the public eye. We will show how and why we went from ridiculing this topic to the truth embargo ending with the in-depth explorations and disclosures and testimonies. We got to start with the first term that we used in the last 100 years for UFOs, flying saucer. Flying saucer was coined by American journalist named Kenneth Arnold on June 24, 1947. He claimed to have witnessed a group of 9 high-speed crescent-shaped objects flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state. In describing their motion, Arnold compared it to saucers skipping on water, which led to the popularization of the term flying saucers. While Arnold's sighting played a significant role in the early UFO phenomena, it's important to note that objects he saw did not resemble traditional saucers, but rather described the way they were moving. Then we have the most common term, UFOs. How that term came about was it was coined by the United States Air Force in 1952. It was created to provide a more neutral and non-committal alternative to terms like flying saucer or flying disc, which were associated with early sightings and reports of unidentified aerial phenomena. The United States Air Force Project Blue Book,
Mhm.
which investigated UFO sightings, adopted the term UFO. So that was the project that actually shifted the term as a standardized classification for any observed object or phenomena in the sky that can't be identified. The question now: has shadowy organizations and governmental agencies held the truth from the public for decades? And is there a UFO crash retrieval department that has reverse engineered and examined UFOs and had interaction with extraterrestrial bodies, both alive and deceased? Right? That's the question. YouTube channel there, we released a lot of information on it. 1 minute synopsis of what's happened just now, just to really let you know why we're doing this in case you don't haven't been following it. A month ago, David Grush, highly decorated intelligence officer, comes out on mainstream YouTube news station, and an article comes out with a debrief on the debrief, which is also another semi-mainstream platform. saying that the UFO government has been hiding the fact that they've been retrieving UFO crashes and abandoned spacecraft for decades, and looks like around over 70 years, and that this UFO crash retrieval program has been operating in black budget with special asset programs, and all these individuals are coming out now and telling the UAP task force, which is the task force that was created during COVID because of the 2016 release of the US Nimitz incident and other incidents that came out, to explore what these aerial phenomena are. The UAP task force, however, was not read in to all these other black budget programs. It was almost like the mainstream outlet for this. But other individuals that were in these programs started coming to David Grush as someone that was in this UAP task force and providing him with documents, the blueprints, and all types of information that proved to him without a reasonable doubt that this was actually happening. He, about a month ago, handed all these documents over to Congress, and then Congress vetted him out, said to the public that we believe everything he's saying is true. Other people are coming out with all this stuff, and that he's legit and was in these task force and in these agencies. And now they're doing a hearing on July 26th. So you might see this video before, you might see this after July 26th. And they're doing a hearing specifically on the UFO crashes. So now we're going to talk about the timeline. UFOs in the 1800s. One of the first documented incidents that also one of the Congress members on YouTube on a channel recently just spoke about, like, this is all fringe. Like, I can't believe they're talking about it. Right. Aurora, Texas UFO incident, 1897. According to local legends, in April 1897, a UFO crashed in Aurora, a small town in Texas. The story goes that a UFO struck a windmill, causing it to be destroyed, and the pilot, described as an alien, died in the crash. Supposedly, the townspeople buried the body in a local cemetery. The Aurora incident gained significant attention in the 70s when it was featured in the documentaries UFOs Past, Present, and Future. In the 1864 Cape Girardeau, Missouri incident, it is claimed that a UFO crash occurred and 3 alien bodies were recovered. So, talking about the 1800s now, right? So this has been going on for quite some time. There are accounts of UFO crashes in the Tunguska region of Siberia in 1908 and the Black Forest region of Germany in the late 1800s. So these are all documented, and this is when society, after being so fragmented for so many thousands of years, started coming back together, right? 1700s, 1800s, tribes became kingdoms, and kingdoms started keeping records and reporting it. And that's when we start seeing this. So we spoke in the last episode, is this something that's been going on for a while? Why we're seeing it more? Well, a good part of that answer is that we weren't creating documentation of this stuff for the last 1,000 years as well as we are doing it right now. And I'm saying last 1,000 years because thousands of years ago, the stuff that we're not able to talk about, there's, I feel, more than enough evidence that we're visited. So there was also this incident here, Los Angeles in 1942. The Battle of Los Angeles. During World War II, February 25th, 1942, a large unknown object was reported flying over Los Angeles. It resulted in a widespread anti-aircraft artillery barrage, causing panic and confusion. The object was eventually determined to be false alarm, possibly caused by a weather balloon or war nerves. Now, the weather balloon story, and they basically gaslit everyone, saying what they saw in space as a dogfight between a UFO and the government was not actually the case, right? And they've done that, of course, many other times too, like Roswell as well, gaslighting everybody, saying what they said wasn't actually real. And then we get to the Foo Fighters. The term Foo Fighters originated during World War II to describe a phenomena observed by pilots who reported seeing mysterious aerial objects. During the war, both Allied and Axis pilots reported encountering inexplicable glowing balls, orbs, and other unusual phenomena. These objects were often described as glowing, fast-moving, and capable of maneuvering in ways that exceeded the capabilities of known aircraft at the time. The term Foo Fighters were coined by the U.S. pilots. At first, they thought it was the foreign adversaries, but then they found out later that the foreign adversaries were seeing the same things in the sky and were also kind of tripping out on what these are. And now, why are we seeing these craft? Well, this was the first war that was fought with planes. We're now in the skies, and we're seeing these objects tracking in a non-invasive way what is actually occurring. The UFO crash that no one spoke about until now. So all the while this was happening, there was no real organizing entity that seemed that we know about that was there to hide the truth. This happened very soon after World War II with Project Blue Book. And this UFO crash and the next one I'm going to tell you about seem to have been two of the major ones that started the mass secrecy. In 1945, 2 years before Roswell, there was a UFO crash in San Antonio, New Mexico. Two boys saw this craft and the extraterrestrial insect beings inside the craft. Myself and my ex-wife visited that area, and we actually got to interview the last survivor, Jose. He's passed away now.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
the whole thing with him where we interviewed him, and we went to the crash site, and there's still the shape of the UFO on the ground, and nothing grows inside of it. Everything grows
You
around it.
are kidding. That is amazing that you got to interview him. Is he still living or?
No, he passed away a few years ago, so he was the
Okay.
last person. Yeah.
Okay. I've had Donald Smith, who wrote the book Crash at Roswell, at my place a couple times. Had him
Oh, no
over.
way.
Friends of ours, I know, and Linda Moulton Howe, who worked on the. Yeah, I know it's weird. It's life, many years ago. But yeah, it's cool. So I got to find out. I got see pictures of all this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go ahead.
So let's take a pause and ask why they are crashing. We shared this in the last one as well. Mainstream narrative keeps saying over and over, and these are regular people. These aren't people that agenda oriented, from what I can tell. The ones that are asking, this is a genuine question. If they're coming all the way here and traveling far distances and bent space and time to get here, why would they crash from our primitive technology? Well, as per Dr. Greer, the black budget programs have mastered anti-gravity since October 1954, and also reverse engineered technology to down UFOs and to tamper with the propulsion systems. And not all of them are crashed. Some of them are actually abandoned and fully intact. Do a simple search of FBI UFO Vault. Go to the FBI's website, start reading through it, and you'll find some UFOs, some UFO declassified documents about fully intact UFOs that have been found. One of which was hieroglyphs on the UFO, and when you put your hand close to the hieroglyphs, they morph into different hieroglyphs.
No, say that again. You put your hand on the hieroglyph,
and then they morphed into different hieroglyphs. They changed, they shapeshift into different words in hieroglyphs.
Oh my gosh! So it was an interactive scrolling.
That was in upstate New York in the 1950s, and it's on
like
the
texting.
FBI's
Before
website.
texting.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool.
So this one, I'm not going to go over every incident here so that we can get into more information. But if you do a simple search of UFOs and nuclear facilities, you'll find out that all the main UFO cases, Rendlesham Forest, Roswell, San Antonio, New Mexico, and so many other ones, and Nellis Air Force Base UFO sighting, all of these took place and or around or in nuclear facilities. So why is this the case? Dolores Cannon does a lot of great information in regards to this. So the reason why a lot of people were saying, hey, why this is a threat, and part of as well why a lot of things were covered up, is there are those that want you to think it's a threat because they know the truth about ET life and they don't want you to know. And there are those that want you to think it's a threat because they're military people and they're seeing anomalous things in the sky. And where they're seeing the anomalous things happen? At the nuclear bases. Oh my God, what are they trying to do? What is this that we don't know? We need to protect ourselves. They might not be negative agenda-oriented people, but they are national security state, and they're trying to figure out what these things are. So part of the mainstream narrative of why these are a threat is because most of the sites happen at nuclear facilities.
And but isn't that good? That could be a good thing. Like cosmic disclosure. David Adair said that there's been several incidences where they have been disbanded, where the nuclear warheads do not work, and they were going to be launched. So I'm thinking that's fantastic.
Right, and that's what has come out on the mainstream as well. They've been talking about the exact same thing, and they talk about the incidents where the codes are scrambled. And this is probably going to be launched after this date, but this weekend we're doing a show with David Adair, Richard Doty, Emery Smith.
Yes. Oh, wait, let me put it up here real quick. There it is. Go to portaltoascension.org and
you can watch the replay if you've seen this afterwards. But so anyways, so let's get into this timeline a little more, huh? So 100-year timeline from UFOs to UAPs, because it was called UFOs and then it went to UAPs. So we'll start in Roswell. In July 1947, UFO crash was reported. Actually, I remember what I was going to say. It's a little pause on the last slide, UFOs, nuclear facilities. I think we should have a future talk where we talk about the spirituality of UFOs, extraterrestrials, and that one we will circle back to UFOs and nuclear energy, because the nuclear stuff has to do with dimensions and our connection to these beings and other realities,
I love it.
which is why
Spirituality.
they're
That's
coming.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, good idea.
So we have the Roswell one. Everybody knows that one. Then we have Project Blue Book. Only 3 years after Roswell, the U.S. Air Force conducted an investigation into UFO sightings called Project Blue Book. It collected and analyzed thousands of reports. J. Allen Hynek went in there as a skeptic, came out a believer. So much so that his son right now talks in UFO conferences because of what he found out. In 1966, we had the Condon Committee. The University of Colorado conducted a scientific study funded by the Air Force. Final report stated that UFOs did not present a threat to national security. All the way back then, they were looking at this case and they realized what they're talking about now. Look how much time has passed, how much time we wasted. They did not present a threat to national security, and they recommended the termination of all official investigations. Think of how interesting that is, okay? UFOs exist. They figured that out. They do not possess a threat to national security. They figured that out. And then they recommended no longer researching that it exists at all, that it happens at all. Why did they do that? They didn't say that we did research and they don't exist. They said we did research, they do exist, they don't pose a threat. Close down. After they ended, 1 year later, Project Blue Book ended. Coincidence? But what we now realize is it didn't end. It changed its name and became a black budget program because of the fact that they realized that this is actually happening.
Right.
Now we have Project Mockingbird, where we have the U.S. government, the CIA, creating a disinformation campaign around anything that they didn't want to be released, including having members of their own agency and members in the CIA working for news agencies, parroting information that the CIA wanted to come out, including the ridiculing of UFOs. Now we have UFOs from being taken seriously and people actually talking about it, to the mid 60s all the way up until present, almost present, the mass ridicule of UFOs. Other things occurred, but the next major milestone happened in 2001 with the Disclosure Project with Stephen Greer, former emergency room physician, organized a press conference called the Disclosure Project. Greer and other witnesses, including military personnel, claimed to have insider knowledge of UFOs and extraterrestrial visitation. And so after that, that was the heyday, if you will, of ufologists, right? We had them in the 90s, of course, as well, some even before that. But after 2001, that's when you get all these people becoming even more well-known. Paula Harris, Stephen Greer, Grant Cameron, Linda Moulton Howe, Erica Lukes, many other researchers. And it became a profession, right? It now became a full-time profession for many people to go into UFO disclosure. However, really much ridiculed this whole time.
Yeah. They're the trailblazers. Yeah, for sure.
So now we're going to, even though it says 2007 to 2012, we're going to talk about what happened in 2017. It was revealed that the U.S. Department of Defense had been conducting a secret program called ATIP, which was actually called OSWAP. They gave you a different name. I'll tell you why in a second. Part of the manipulation theme of this event here is that from 2007 to 2012, this program was around. It had spent millions and millions, I forget how much it was, might have been up to $1 billion of dollars of taxpayer money on this program. And it came out with Tom DeLonge, Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo on Twitter feed, on Tom DeLonge's Twitter feed, ex-Blink 182 singer, stating that there's something anomalous in the sky. We don't know what it is. We're looking at it. We think that it's some advanced technology. We want to find out what that technology is, use it for ourselves so that we can better whatever, at the military, whatever. Not one word about extraterrestrials, not one word about who these craft are, just there's something in the sky. What is it? Let's use it. Let's create an app. Let's all triangulate on this app where these things are so we can track down what has been going on. The Department of Defense come out and says, we have no evidence and that Lou Elizondo worked for any program that's called ATIP. Do you know why? This is how freaking genius these guys are. Maybe it's not genius. Maybe it's just common sense. Is the fact that the program was called OSWAP and the nickname was ATIP. So they can say there is no evidence that Elizondo worked for any program related to UAPs that was called ATIP, because he wasn't. That was their nickname. The real one was AAWSAP.
Right. So, yeah, sneaky.
Right. So now we're strip disclosure. It's fully underway. So this is now from UFOs to UAPs. This is the year 2016 is when it really happened. Hillary Clinton appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, right when she was running against Trump for president, and she was attempting to do all types of things to get support at that point. And it seemed also she was tapping into the UFO community pretty substantially. And she goes on Jimmy Kimmel show. First of all, you got to know, not any presidential candidate or president goes onto any of these late night talk show hosts that have completely been hijacked by the elite without knowing exactly what they're going to be asked. Doesn't happen. Okay.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it was so, like, she's such a bad actor. Like, I guess that's a pun as well. Like, she's such a bad actor that she, like, it was so obvious that it was staged. So he goes, hey, I asked your husband this, and I'm gonna ask you again. Are you gonna release the Area 51 files? And she goes, oh, Jimmy. We no longer call them Area 51 files and release UFO information. She goes, Jimmy. We no longer call them UFOs. They called UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Boom, rebranding begins. Yeah. She was the first one, right? And then in 2016, around the same time, either 2 months before or a few months afterwards, we have the WikiLeaks emails come out. John Podesta, Barack Obama, Edgar Mitchell, Hillary Clinton, and other individuals in hundreds of thousands of documents, but emails about them going out. One email saying, we need to have a Skype meeting about the non-human intelligences that exist in our solar system. What the heck? Obama and Hillary were both Podesta were all on that thread. Okay. So there was all this stuff coming out. Whether the WikiLeaks emails was designed and created by the elitists in order to release it, or they were answering the fact that it came out, that they knew this stuff and they had to get in front of it, let you guys figure that one out. 2017, Tom DeLonge, that's the one I just spoke about. He went live on his Twitter, October 17, 2017, right after all this is happening, right? And now what is occurring, let me just wrap this up with some of the manipulation information here in the last 6-7 minutes, is it seemed that through all the efforts of the people from 2001, even before, but all the way up until present, that so much information was coming out, so much information, secret space program, and so many people were adopting the conspiracy facts and realizing that there's something going on. A lot of people lost trust ever since the Bush era up until now. There's been an exponential distrust in the governments happening. So much so that a lot of people went into this conspiracy world and started realizing that things were happening. Secret space program, advanced technology, lost 100 years of a lost technology, that they had to get behind it before we figured out that they've been lying and had this technology for decades. So what did they do? Tom DeLonge comes out. Tom DeLonge says, there's stuff in the sky, guys. Look at all these ex-people that live in NASA, NSA, CIA. Oh, they all quit their job 2 days ago. That's not a coincidence. They just happened to quit their job because they want to tell you that there's something going on out there. And what we're going to tell you about something going on out there isn't what it could be, but it's got some cool technology, guys. And let's figure out what they are so we can create that technology. Then Tom DeLonge goes on to Joe Rogan. And this is why Tom DeLonge was taken out as the front man on Joe Rogan after Joe Rogan show. He's on the show with Joe Rogan, and Joe's like, is this real, man? What's going on with this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, it is real. And go to this website and look at the craft and see that technology. This is what it's called.
Yeah, what is that website for everybody?
Oh, well, it was on YouTube. It was a YouTube video. So if you look up, like, I forget the name of it, but it was TR something B, like it's the actual name of one of the UFOs that Tom DeLonge showed in the actual Nimitz incident. So the Nimitz incident, the gimbal incident, and the FLIR-1 incident, which are all the UFOs that were released in 2017 from the New York Times, were all reverse engineered government craft. They weren't ET. So he showed them TR something B, I forget now. Okay. So he showed Joe Rogan on this show, right? You can look up Tom DeLonge, Joe Rogan show 2018 probably.
Okay.
He showed Joe Rogan the actual video footage of this craft on YouTube. But wait a second, you were just on your Twitter with these people saying that we have no idea what this is. It doesn't belong to us. We need to figure out what it is. What he did there was he tripped and showed them that actually this craft does exist and has been around for a while, instead of
Yeah.
what he was trying to say, which is we don't know what it is and we're going to figure out what it is and create the technology. The first one, if he followed through with the first one, which is we didn't know what it is, we created the technology, they could find out what it is, they could reverse engineer technology, and then they can tell the masses, we just created these craft. Look, okay? The other one leads us to realizing that they've been lying to us and they've been hiding some advanced technology for decades, right?
That's the part that's upsetting to me, because there's so much that could heal and help humanity.
Exactly.
That's the part that gets me. Yeah. They have, especially after seeing Cosmic Disclosure, and there's so many things that we can do that we could be helping humanity.
Exactly. Like every single institution can be completely changed. Organized religion, the medical industry, petrol,
Everything.
Gas, electricity.
Yeah.
This is the biggest. This is the biggest
Everything.
topic and area that we need to focus on in the world, because all things go within it. Poverty, hunger.
Yeah. No medical need for medical stuff. They can cure everything. No medical, right?
And
Everything.
And then one of the number one things is, what the heck are we?
Well, then people need to start asking that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
and then they can print food. We don't even need to worry about they can print food. So I mean, it's just nuts. So anyway, go ahead.
And then we have continuous and routine dropping of information around UFOs since 2017 to present, and a normalization of the subject. And in December, in the COVID relief bill, so just to give guys kind of what we're doing here, after we get to 2023, we'll close out this segment. We'll continue later. Mm-hmm. In December, the COVID relief bill included in the Authorization Act, which mandated the Director of National Intelligence to submit an unclassified report on UAPs to Congress. So the first relief bill, the relief bill that gave everybody the stimulus checks, all COVID stuff. But the last page, UFOs. That's a whole other topic.
How'd that get in there?
That's a whole other topic about how COVID actually seems to be in alignment and may have actually be hugely about the release of UFO information and technology. And a little side tangent here is we've been on quarantine from extraterrestrial civilizations for a long time.
Ooh,
so we literally manifested a real quarantine. We went through a real quarantine at the end of the real quarantine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a coincidence. Okay. So,
yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So that's going to be our next show, COVID-19 and UFO quarantine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got
love it. And then the other one that I have is I love it for you. This is great. UFO disclosure, a new type of cosmic spirituality.
Yes. Okay. That's perfect.
Yeah. So this keeps going. So I love how you embrace this. And I'm like, I saw your topics coming up. This is the stuff that propels me in life. I was like, oh my God, I got to see this Sunday. And you got some other really cool stuff coming up. I was like, so excited. I can't believe that you and then Joan, who's your executive, even rest with all the work that you do. So did you want to finish up with the 2020?
Yeah, let's finish up.
Just put a closure on that. So
exactly, yeah. Because I want to bring people up to present. I want to bring people up to present. So yeah, so I'll say, even though like some people might not know about this one, I will say Caroline Corey's documentary, who's a speaker on Portal Ascension, her documentary, A Tear in the Sky, is also part of this, because it gets released and it features Michio Kaku, William Shatner, and the UFO pilots from the Nimitz incident that came out. It was the first time where there's a UFO documentary that had people from the mainstream agreeing. First time Michio Kaku was like, oh my God, ETs exist, blah, blah, blah. William Shatner, mind blown. He gets shown a portal on a video that Caroline Corey shows him. Watch it on Amazon. And that was huge, because now UFO documentaries with people that are accepted in the mainstream, right?
I haven't seen that. I usually watch stuff. You're kidding. I can get this on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's one of the best. So, and now let's get to present, guys, just to close out here. So David Grush comes out 1 month ago and on the debrief and says there's been a decade-long UFO crash retrieval black budget program with craft and ET bodies. All the mainstream, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, turned down the story. The next day, we have info that more whistleblowers came out and said that there are at least 12 UFOs in black budget programs. And then we have a couple of days later, Stephen Greer holds a press conference in Washington, D.C. with further disclosures straight from the whistleblowers and releasing all the info and the bases to the Congress on where they are with the black budget sites around the U.S. that are working on this tech. And now we come to present moment where every single day for the last month, there's been drops in so many videos that the awareness now is just so hyped up that people are aware that we're not alone, and excited to see what's going to happen next week, because all the beings and all the people in Congress, all the news stations now are not just saying UFOs, they're saying extraterrestrials. And one channel said they even abruptly, they broke character, okay, because they were so mind blown. And they were like some guy was like, oh, so, these, whatever this is visiting us. And then the other anchor said, come on, just say aliens. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So July, I've seen on a newscast. This is what's okay, great. So we're back to us. This is for real. This is the truth. And I saw, just to wrap up. This is just a fluke, right? I was watching a newscast. I won't say which one. This was a year and a half ago. Okay. And I don't know why I was watching it, but I was cooking dinner. I don't like watching news, but I think I'm going to blame it on my husband because he likes to watch people debate. So there was a guy on there, another guy. I really honestly can't remember. 2 separate occasions, 3 months apart. One was an older Caucasian guy, much older, and he got him mad. And he said something about, but can't you benefit from this thing? Because you're now the new so-and-so bit ready to be on the board of Walmart. So you're going to benefit from this thing you're trying to pass. His eyes went black and they turn into complete horizontals. Now, look, I don't care how angry you get. That don't happen. So I said, stop the TV. I went back, took all the pictures. 3 months later, a young guy, and there were some places in the Midwest. I don't really remember where it was, but I don't know. But I wouldn't know if I recognize him. Dark hair, and he got him mad because he asked him a question. Well, this seems fraudulent? And his eyes did the same, went black, and they went. And I've got like 8 screens. All of a sudden, 3 days later, they were on my phone. I was like, "Oh my God, there's proof!" There are some shapeshifters still here, and especially in the elite and power, they love that, right? These certain type of the other ones we like are very the law of one love and all that. And 2 days later, they were erased. I don't know how from my iPhone. I don't know how that's possible.
Wow.
I can't answer that, but I know they were there. I showed my husband.
That's weird.
Because he said, that's got to be a glitch. I said, I don't care what you do. There was a lot of photos. I said, no, that doesn't look like a glitch to me. So that was just something I saw on the news. But then what about the people that, I met a lady that's an Asian lady that met a Pleiadian working in like a Starbucks type of situation. And he said she could tell because they looked like their skin, they had this very soft, she calls it new baby glow, this very glowy new skin looking, but they were older. So I think people are going to start to look at things differently. Are they beside someone that is from another planet? And then they're going to ask the big final question: where are we really from? That is the real trick question. That's a hard one to really look at, unless you look at it in a way like, how exciting, right? It's very exciting. Well, look, we're going to let you go because I know that you're hungry. This is all yummy stuff. Why don't you close out and tell everybody? I do want to mention that July 26th, tell them to go to portal2ascension.com.
July 26th is on YouTube, Portal Ascension, at Portal Ascension. July 23rd, Emery Smith, David Adair, Richard Doty, Tim Tactics on a platform. And if you're seeing this afterwards, which I'm sure a lot of people are, you can see the replay on our YouTube, or the free one and the paid one with Emery Smith and all that. Oh, there you go. Boom. This one's going to be next level. So when this stuff came out, Emery Smith called me and he's like, hey, man, they're not telling everybody the entire truth. We need to do an event. Can you put it on for me? So within 2 days, I put it together. And we just put this together impromptu. We just launched it 4 days ago. And they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait more than a week. I was like, hey, man, we need like 3 to 4 weeks to promote it. And he goes, no, we need to do this now. All the other people, Richard Doty, David Adair, don't want to wait.
Well, I tell you what, I have been watching, what is it, 17 seasons, 18 seasons. I've seen them all, and each one blows my mind. It raises my consciousness to a whole different level of bam. So I'm like, I mean, like, to me, they're like rock stars. You could be, you could say you could be having, the Beatles, and I'd be just as excited, or something like that. I mean, they are rock stars of what they do, and they're fearless. So I commend you for having them. Thank you, Neil. You are you and Joan and others that are with Portal to Ascension are the #1 Ascension ambassadors, and I thank you for putting yourself out there and for being on the Seeking Heaven channel. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.